Hi guys, it's me Quinn, and as always, if you appreciate my content, consider hitting the like button. It's the only way the YouTube algorithm really notices me. So of course, I've made a lot of Dune content on this channel, but recently I've been doing shorter videos for people that might have seen the Dune movie, but have not read the books, just to give those people some information about what is going on. We've talked about why there's no robots in the series, we've talked about the politics of Dune, we've talked about the Emperor and the Bene Gesserit sisterhood. Now it's time to get into what exactly Paul Atreides saw in his visions that freaked him out so badly. Now, the book refers to this as the terrible purpose, and Paul actually begins to sense this very early on in the novel. Paul Atreides was bred by the Bene Gesserit sisterhood as a tool of control. They have spent centuries doing the groundwork and preparing the universe for the coming of their Kwisatz Haderach, and on Arrakis, their myths and legends very easily took root because the Fremen were descended from the Zensunni Wanderers, who, before they got to Arrakis, had been oppressed, chased from planet to planet, never finding a true home. A culture born from this type of society the Bene Gesserit knew were extra susceptible to legends about a savior, messiah figure who would free them from oppression. So after being shifted from planet to planet, facing oppression on every planet, and after being oppressed by the Empire and the Harkonnens brutally for the past nearly a century, here comes Paul Atreides, who seems to fit the myths and legends exactly. When people truly believe that a person is God, whatever that person says becomes the will of God. And because God is realized in an actual form, the proof of his existence constantly reinforces itself. This is fertile ground for fanaticism, and that's exactly what Paul is seeing in his visions. Paul wants to gain vengeance for House Atreides, but in doing so, he kinda has to let the Fremen believe he is a god. And when the Fremen fight for him, they're not just fighting for another leader, they're fighting for a messiah. Any war that the Fremen might fight in the name of Paul Atreides is a holy war. In allowing the Fremen to believe he is God, Paul will release a fanatic religion onto the universe. A religion that will seek to convert all non-believers. They will be armed with the certainty that their God, Paul Atreides, is the one true God, the one true Messiah, and all those who disbelieve cannot join in the kingdom of heaven. And once a fanatic religion like this is unleashed, it cannot be undone. It cannot be controlled. It has momentum of its own which goes beyond the mortal man Paul Atreides. Paul is seeing a war rage on in his name, endless death in his name, unstoppable and totally outside of his control. A curious thing that the movie does is that you can see when Paul is seeing these visions in the movie that they disturb him incredibly, and he even blames the Bene Gesserit sisterhood and his mother for doing this to him. And yet, at this point in time, these visions are not set in stone. Paul sees possible futures. It's important to note, however, that at the end of the movie, Jessica wants Paul off of the world. Paul actively makes the choice to stay on Arrakis, full well knowing that the path for Atreides' vengeance leads to an unstoppable holy war. He actively makes that decision. The fact that this is shown explicitly in the movie shows us that Paul is kind of a gray character. He's not the typical Disney protagonist that's perfect in most ways. He's highly skilled, highly trained, and yet fallible, and certainly not a messiah, as many of the Fremen already believe. Frank Herbert, writer of the original Dune series, famously stated that he wrote the Dune series as a warning against charismatic leaders. He firmly believed that when people threw their faith behind a leader blindly, it led to catastrophe. And that is essentially what is being depicted in the Dune series. I hope that helps explain it for you guys. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe for more science fiction lore. Just check out my channel to find out all the series I cover, organized neatly into playlists.